All right, guys, good morning. So you can see here it is 6:58. It's about 7 right now. So here we are back again, and we can see how this has really progressed throughout the night, throughout London session, and now we're getting about half an hour before the US Open. So um, obviously we come down, right? We came down to this zone down here in Wicked. We come back down again, and we do hold it pretty nicely as support. Let me zoom in here a little bit. So we hold it nicely as support right here, and then we push back up and we make another lower high. I want to mark this. Right there, this wick. We make another lower high and we come back down, and we are, at least for the time being, right now, respecting this level as support still. So, um, yeah, again, I guess I could actually, at this point, with the new data here, right, with all these new touches down in this zone, we could maybe get rid of that zone actually, just to sort of simplify things a little bit, right? We don't necessarily need that there, even though, you could say, well, this is now a resistance, we could reject this and push down. Um, we're always in the process of simplifying things, right? So now we're just kind of at, the top of this, or the top of this range and the bottom of this range in terms of our zone. So, but we do make a lower high. So, so we have um, right here. So we have our peak here, another lower high, and another lower high. Um, and so, what we're really looking at now is, so this candle's closing in about 16 seconds. So we're going to see how this candle closes, and then we have one more 30-minute candle that's going to lead us into the 7:30 market open. And so basically our job right now is to um, analyze this price action, right? Because we already did our analysis yesterday, right? We already have that all done. We know what our bias is. We know what all of our zones are. We have all of our reference points, you could say. And now we're just looking at what the price action is going to do. So yeah, we closed bullish, new candles opening to the downside. So we got another 30 minutes, and we're going to see, if this can come down and break this low, that's going to be pretty interesting, right? Leading into the market open. So um, yeah, so that's just kind of a little update on how we have progressed throughout the night. But I really like this level up here. Let me mark that. This resistance, right? If we are going to be looking for a buy position, it would have to be above here, in my opinion, right? And it does kind of depend what the next couple candles do, but for the most part, I would really only be comfortable with a buy position above here, unless the price action drastically changes in the next, half an hour. But and obviously, I would only be looking for a short position underneath this gray support level, right? So anyway, we're just gonna wait and let this develop a little bit. All right, so one more thing, guys, you can see as we are pushing down here with this candle, right? 7-11 right now. We're getting closer to the market open and we are pushing down right now. But again, we want to really wait until this new candle, because, I'll sometimes get in a trade before the market open if we're in a really trending, very trending market conditions. But, right now we're in a period of consolidation, right? So one thing to keep in mind though, so it is 7 o'clock. So this is the 7 o'clock candle. Here we're going to have the 7:30 candle, and here's the 8 o'clock candle. So right here you can see where this vertical line is for the 8 o'clock candle. At 8 o'clock we're going to have U.S. consumer confidence news. And so what we can expect when that comes out is a massive uptick in volatility, right? And so basically what we're trying to do is, sort of fit that into our approach of, like I always say, my goal and my strategy. I'm not religiously, attached to the idea of clean candle moves or, a specific trading strategy. I'm just trying to catch, I can do a little bit of everything, right? But I'm just trying to catch a high volume move in the market, right? And so I know that right here on the chart visually at 8 o'clock, we are expecting a lot more volatility because of the news coming out. So basically, I have to try to think, okay, maybe we're going to have a little bit less volume at 7:30. Maybe as we get, 5 minutes to the 8 o'clock news, the volume will increase a little bit and we'll have a little bit of volatility, that sort of thing. You want to um, try to fit in the news visually into the market, right? So anyway, that's just something to keep in mind right here at this 8 o'clock candle. Wherever price is, we're going to have consumer confidence news. And the thing is, we don't know what that news is going to be. right? Whether it's going to be positive or negative. But anyway, we just need to kind of fit that in into our charts, right? So yeah, so anyway, we have this 15-minute candle is going to close here in a little bit, in about a minute and a half. Yeah, so this is looking fairly bearish right now, but of course, we do know that a lot can change very quickly, leading into the market open. And again, just one thing to consider. I was talking about this daily support down here, right? Not saying that's going to happen today, but it's just a reference point for us to keep in mind, right? Because yesterday's daily candle closed bearish, massive top wick. Today, this daily candle, pre-U.S. market hours, which we're still pre-open right now, but I mean, this past night we came up and made a top wick, and we are now moving bearish, right? And below us we have a nice long bullish candle, and we have our daily support down here. So again, not saying we're going to fill that. We're really what we're doing, as I said in the last video, is we're just waiting. We have all our higher time frame zones. And we're really just waiting for price action to tell us what it's doing here on the lower time frames, right? So, all right, guys. So here we go with the market open. So we made a top wick and open to the downside. So right underneath this wick is going to be our short position. Right there. Yeah. And I'm going to give the candle a little bit of breathing room since it has just opened, right? And for right now, we're just going to target this level down here. You know what, with how big, actually, yeah, let's move that up there. With how big that take profit is, we can move that up a little bit. And like I said, I'm not saying we're exactly going to get down to here today, but it's just a level that I think we can potentially target for more of a, like I said, like a more higher time frame level pullback, right? Despite being in an uptrend. What I was really looking for is this previous candle, right? I was really looking to see how it closed. If we initially, like about a minute ago, were up here, and it was looking like we were going to wick and maybe pull back and close bullish. And so I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting, right? We might be respecting this support and right rejecting this level and moving up. But then right when we began to close, or we're 20 seconds from closing, we pushed back down. And so my thought process here, in the last 2 minutes was that right before this candle closed, we had like a larger surge in volume that was bringing us to the downside, and so I'm kind of trying to follow that volume, right? And so then obviously, yes, we don't close down below this support, but we close bearish inside of it, right? And so when the new candle has a top wick right away and then breaks the low at the market open, that's a pretty good scenario for me, right? Then this stop is just a little bit above here. A lot of times I'll have it a little bit closer, but I kind of figured with this, with how big our take profit is, I could give it some more breathing room because we still have a good risk to reward, right? But again, like I said, in a half an hour at 8 o'clock, we do have that consumer confidence news, right? So we have to keep that in mind. And see, here we are wicking and retracing a bit, right? All right. Yeah, and you also want to wonder, maybe I know we're pushing down nicely now. Maybe we're going to kind of go sideways a little bit, or retrace like we were for a while until this 8 o'clock news. But you can also think that maybe this 8 o'clock news is a potential catalyst for us to come down. Um, like I said, maybe potentially get toward this daily support down here. If you look at the daily chart, right? Is that too much to ask? Yeah. Anyway, we always have our biases, right? Yeah, it's pushing down pretty nicely. You can see, you can just see in this candle that volume is increasing, right? So that's great. I could see this being, assuming this candle stays fairly bearish, I could see this being a scenario in which, with the new candle at 8 o'clock being consumer confidence news, we get a massive spike in volatility. And maybe even if we're down here a little bit lower, we get a wick back up into this resistance zone, and then we push lower, right? Just a potential scenario here. Okay. And again, this is not the screen that I am trading on. I'm just using this to show you because it's a lot better visually to look at trading view. But this is a really big candle right here. That's an interesting setup. A lot of times when you see this, right, you would expect this candle to bottom wick here and then close bullish, right? But we just really ran out of steam. I think it has to do with us reaching all-time highs back here and then failing to match it, right? We just continue to make lower highs, and we're slowly melting our way down, right? Yeah. 24 minutes. Okay. This is why with US30, I really I wait for the candle close right at 7:30, but when the market open candle starts to move right like this, I will always, usually for the most part, depending on the day, I will enter before the candle closes, right? Because if you're waiting for this candle to close, you would have completely missed this opportunity. Another interesting thing about this that a lot of times we don't think about is a lot of times we will be right about a move happening, but we'll just be too early. So yesterday back here, this setup, this was the market open right here. Remember getting pretty excited with this candle, but obviously we have this resistance up here, and it really just died down instantly, right? So as we come down, we have this support here. And so I remember seeing this candle come down here, and I'm obviously at that point I wasn't trading because it was too late into the morning, but I'm kind of thinking in my head, maybe we're going to break below here and come down to this daily support down here, right? And at least right now, assuming this trade goes to plan, I was correct. But the issue is it's not the right time, right? You can have the right idea and be correct about what you think is going to happen, but you can be too early. And so the way you can really judge that is when you look at the price action leading up into a zone. I have other videos talking about this, but for instance, right here, here's a market open. We have a sharp push up, right? And we have if we look, I don't know if this will visually make sense, but if you look just right here, right, you have such a sharp push down into this zone, right? It's so steep and so sharp that you can almost expect some sort of bounce and rejection off of the support. But here, what's different as more time went on, last night through London session, is it was, we went up a little bit more gradually, right? And we had less distance vertically to cover to reach the support. So the difference is up here, we had such a large push up and such a steep push down into the support that you will expect an equal reaction to this level, right? Because, it's like, it's so, I hope that makes sense. It's so sharp coming into the level that here you wouldn't really expect a sell-off because you already had a massive one leading up into this level. Here, we very casually, right, move up, step off of this support, and then sort of roll over here. And so it's different price action leading into the level is what I'm trying to say. A lot of times when you have such a steep push up into like a resistance zone, like if this would have come up a little bit higher, that would have been a great opportunity to talk about that. You'll have a steep rejection of that level, but when it's more gradual, right, then you can have an actual breakout. And that's kind of one of the ways that I discern between rejections and breakouts is here, right? After we made this lower high, you can see, I remember I marked that a little bit earlier, with that little purple circle. It was more obvious that we could easily break this level because, right, we came down and made a lower high. We were closer to the support to begin with. The price action leading up into the support wasn't as violent as it was back here. And so basically, like back here, if you wanted to short here, you basically had missed the opportunity. You should have shorted a little bit earlier. But here, it's a different setup leading into it, right? Whenever I'm looking for breakouts, I'm always looking for more gradual, casual price action into the breakout because then you can anticipate a higher volume move, right? You don't want to get in once the high volume move has already happened. You want to be part of the high volume move. And so when you have such steep price action, right, leading up into a zone, you can expect that most of the time to be rejected and stay within that zone. That's been my experience at least. So yeah. And again, I try not to get too caught up with the whole, everyone likes to talk about clean candle moves and all this stuff. You can take bits and pieces from different people, different mentors, right, that teach you how to trade, and really just kind of take what's applicable to you. Take bits and pieces, and honestly, everyone is different. You have to do what works for you. You don't want to get too caught up in a certain strategy and a certain method, right? But 18 minutes left. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see just as an example, what would you rather sell, right? This setup, right? This sell-off leading into here, would you sell here with how steep that is? I know obviously looking back it's easy to say it was a dumb decision, but you see the difference in this price action leading up to this support being broken, right? Here, it makes sense that the support would be rejected because it's such a violent push into it. You sort of bounce off of it. Here, it's more gradual and you get a rollover. And so it makes more sense that here we would break through the level. So, that's happened a lot to me where I'm correct, but I'm too early, and it can be frustrating, but you just have to sort of, it gets better the more you do it. Okay, so 17 minutes. Not too much has really changed, so we are going to let this play out a little bit, and we will be back. All right, guys, so we're about 40 seconds out from consumer confidence news at 8 o'clock. Now, I know I said we're targeting this level, but just for this news announcement, because we don't know how volatile it can get, I am going to move temporarily, right? Move this down here a little bit, just to see maybe we, have a large candle, right? And like I said, I was thinking potentially this could be one of those scenarios where we get that big increase in volatility, right as the news comes out, maybe about right in the next couple seconds, and maybe we spike back up into this level as resistance, but I do not think we'd go any further than that. So let's see how the news comes out here. Now it was It was slightly negative, so we'll see. I found recently that a lot of times when there's news, um, it's good to know when the news is, obviously, but sometimes I feel like it doesn't actually. Sometimes when you have news that you think the market should react a certain way to, it kind of doesn't really react that way, and it seems a little illogical. But anyway, yeah, not as much volatility as we were expecting, but it's all good. We came up and made a top wick and are now slightly bearish, so just looks like a normal candle so far to me. Now, if you wanted to be very conservative with your capital, you could move your stops to break even at this point. A lot of times I'll do that, um, but not yet. I usually have a general rule where I wait until um, price is at least halfway to my take profit level with, you know, at least 2, maybe 3 candle closes along that way. So anyway, this is kind of just not as much volume as I was anticipating, so we're just going to kind of let this play out, and we'll be back as this continues to progress. All right, guys, so here we are. A little bit of time has passed. It's now 8:42. You can see the previous 30-minute candle closed somewhat of a doji, not really, but a really small body. You have a decently sized top wick, a larger bottom wick, so we have more of a range to drop into. Now, the new candle didn't make too much of a top wick, but came down and broke the low. And so now we are just moving down. If you look at the 15-minute candle, we broke the low of the 2 previous candles, so that's great. We had a bit of a pullback, kind of going sideways for a bit. I kind of think we just needed to, have a bit of a retracement in the middle of this move. I still think this is a good target to have. And I'm going to think fairly soon, in a little bit here, about moving my stops maybe above this 5-minute candle high, maybe above this, depending on how much lower we go. And yeah, I mean, it's really all there is to it. I'm still eyeing this daily support down here. If we look at the daily chart right now, we've had a pretty decently sized bearish candle. Maybe we don't reach this today. Maybe we pull back at some point, and maybe the next day we have a wick that comes up, and maybe then we reach that level. But again, it's really all this really is you get your zones on the higher time frames like we did here, and then you analyze the recent immediate structure on the 30-minute, which we did here, this high up here. And then you just look in a high volume time, which we did, which is the market open at 7:30. And then you trade based off of what the price action tells you. You go purely off of the price action in relation to what your bias is from the higher time frame trend. And that's what we did today, right? I explained this price action leading up into this sell-off compared to back here where we rejected. This candle closed bearish. New candle, it made sense to get into a short position at the break of the wick. I think I moved that a little bit, but it's right below here, the break of this candle low. Stop above the high of the candle that we broke. And yeah, it's really simple. I know a lot of people always ask me questions. Well, how do I differentiate between zones on each time frame? And I might have to make some more videos about that. But I feel like sometimes we overcomplicate things, right? Look at the daily chart, look at the weekly chart, and mark the zones that are relevant to where price currently is. You don't want to clutter your screen too much with too many different things, right? Mark what's relevant and then go from there, and then trade purely based off of the price action on the time frame that you trade. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. This is basically a part 2 to yesterday's video. We had a new 15-minute candle. Okay, it's a pretty good close on that previous candle. We are just going to keep pushing down. I think what my plan is going to be, if we come down into this zone fairly soon, I'm going to close close a percentage of my position, and then let the rest run with the idea of maybe reaching the zone with stops in profit above this wick. That's assuming we get down to this level. Yeah. So what I'm going to do right now, because of this recent candle close, let me look at the. Yeah, we're going to wait a little bit on that. So, okay, we're just going to let this play out a bit and, see what happens. All right, guys, so I am going to move, actually, my stop loss. I'm not going to move it on here because it's going to show, you can't really move this that well here on TradingView. I'm going to move it to here right above this 5-minute wick on this 5-minute bearish candle. And so when we go to the 30-minute chart, that's going to look like this, right above this wick of this previous 30-minute candle. And so I think that's a great place to have it. If price, for whatever reason, would come up here, we would get stopped out with, of course, a small profit, not as much as we would want. But I think that's a relatively safe place because we're about 65-70% of the way to our take profit level. And so obviously you want to conserve your profits a little bit. You don't want to be, there's nothing worse than being about this far into your take profit zone and then you end up taking a loss. There's no worse feeling than that, right? So I'd rather conserve and protect my capital, right? So if we go down, yeah, and this new 15-minute candle, this is really great. Looks like we are maybe making a top wick here. Hopefully we can come up into this recent zone here, right here, and reject this and continue down. Yeah. $12 left on this. And this is pretty good because, again, we're not too late into the morning. It's still not even 9 o'clock yet. So I think we have a good, 4 to 5, maybe 5 more candles on the 30-minute chart here that are going to give us some good volume. So, yeah, but anyway, that is where my stop loss is now. And, yeah, we're just going to go from there. All right, guys, as we are continuing to come down, you see it's been relatively consistent, right? We haven't had a single bullish 30-minute candle here. I wanted to make note, I know we're below this level. I just wanted to make note of this level so that we can see it, right? We're coming in. Remember, this was our daily resistance we have since broken through, but the only time that we ever violated that level, it's making a little zone here that I want us to just be aware of, right? Right, I'm not saying this is a key level. Obviously, the daily support is a much bigger deal than this, but it's just something to look at in case, price starts to kind of stall here and we're wondering, why is it not continuing down? That could be a reason, right? It's so, yeah, if you look at 15-minute, we kind of pulled back after that, but we have since broken back through. But, these kind of levels, this is the definition of a minor level, right? This daily level is a key level. This would be a minor level, but it is still something just to keep an eye on in case we get any interesting price action rejecting it, right? So we can delete that though. I just wanted to take note of that though. But anyway, so we're coming down. We're coming down really nicely here. I still have the same target, and look at this 5-minute candle here. Yeah, that's a pretty big candle. So it's looking like we're going to just slowly continue to make our way down here. And like I said, pretty soon here, I'm going to think about closing a partial amount of my position. And then I'm going to have my stops here above this wick and let the rest run and just, see where it ends up. If it would come up and stop us out, we would still be in profit. So it's not a huge deal. Like I always say, again, we had a really good risk to reward, and so basically no drawdown at all. And so it's always good to conserve some of your and lock in at least some of your profit, so that even if things don't reach your target completely and maybe start to go against you a little bit, you still end the day with a profit, right? So pretty soon here, I'm going to think about closing a little bit, even if we do not reach our first target. just not because of the price action, just because of the time. We're getting toward 10 o'clock, and not that that's late in the morning, but it's just that, as the morning gets later, I usually get more and more aggressive with conserving my profits, right? If this was 11 or 12 o'clock, I'd want to be completely exiting this trade right now because, the volume sort of dies down toward the end of the day. If this was a Thursday or a Friday, then I would be completely open to having my target all the way down here, expecting a larger move toward the end of the day. But again, I hope that makes sense. It's kind of just, as the morning gets later, I'm expecting, my expectation goes down a little bit. And so my open positions, 10, 30, 11 o'clock, I'm sort of being a little bit more aggressive about conserving that profit, right? So, um, yeah, so we're just gonna let this continue a little bit, and yeah, we're gonna go from there. It's been a pretty good morning, and we still have this daily support down here. All right, guys. So I have closed more than 50% of my position here. I know, we were anticipating a little bit more of a move down here, and obviously I still have some open with my stop above here, obviously, but it's not really being impatient. It's just that, I'm as we get later into the morning, like I was just saying, I do want to conserve my profit a little bit more, and so just wanted to lock in a little bit of that with my stops, obviously up here. So I didn't want to, uh, you know, be too complacent and just let this thing run against me. So yeah. All right, guys. So a lot of time has gone by. This has really actually, to be honest, been a test of patience for me. But I have actually closed the rest of my position here. I know we came down a little bit closer to our take profit level, but I want to go back to um, this level here on the hourly chart because it's looking like, we have such a sharp push down. We're going to have to pull back at some point. It's also the late morning. It's 11 o'clock now. And so I'm not expecting, too much more, bearish movement, right? We already got a very nice move. Even though we didn't reach exactly where we wanted, we still got a really great trade. But like I said, it's getting later in the morning. That combined with reaching a minor level here, it's looking like a good place for us to pull back. Maybe we pull back a little bit and then continue the move down later. But there's no point in just sitting here waiting for another couple hours for that to happen. So yeah, you can see here on the 5-minute chart, we did this minor level I was talking about earlier. We did really hold this very well as support. And so that with this candle, once this candle came down and started to wick bullish, uh, come up a little bit right about here, that was really a sign that we're probably going to move up a little bit. And so I think eventually this stop would get taken out. So we are now just out of the market. But still, we got a very good risk to reward, a very good trade. Regardless of that, we still had a very nice trade, right? We got in up here, and we caught most of this move pretty much in its entirety to the downside. So, if we come down and reach this target and maybe go a little bit lower, I'm not too worried. Still a really great trade. We didn't really have any drawdown, so yeah, really good morning so far. But looking back, I think something that you can learn from is I probably should have taken more note about this zone here before. Like instead of just looking at this level here on the 30-minute chart, I should have paid more attention to that zone because it was the one place where on the 4-hour chart we violated the daily level that we were trying to reach. And so, it's no big deal. I mean, this 4-hour candle, obviously you can see here, we're 5 minutes into a new 4-hour candle. So it would make sense that we're going to make a top wick. Maybe we make the top wick and then keep going down. But again, it's later into the morning, and so I don't want to sit here the entire day waiting for this to happen, right? We caught our piece of the high volume move, and we can be thankful and grateful for that, and then we can get out and come back again tomorrow. So yeah, I hope this video is helpful. This is basically a part 2 to yesterday's video of me kind of doing a really simple breakdown of this, and basically what we were talking about is sort of how things played out, right? So anyway, hope that was helpful for you. All right, guys, and you can see actually a little bit more here. we are pushing up pretty nicely now after reaching this level. I moved up, where we around the price where we got out at, two different exits, but obviously our stop loss was above here, above this wick. Um, but still, despite not going as far as we wanted, we still had a pretty good trade. Um, about a 3.7 to 1, give or take, both of the different entries. Um, so yeah, that's pretty good. And again, just want to reiterate that point that what we can really learn from this trade was this, right? I know I had that zone I was looking at on the 30-minute chart, but um, this it was relatively close to this, but this should have been our number one priority as in terms of an exit. And so that's just something to kind of keep in mind for next time. Um, I was aware of it, but I just was thinking that it wasn't, maybe not as important as it turned out to be, but still, nevertheless, a really good trade. I'm kind of thinking going forward now that um, the rest of this daily candle, we're just going to kind of go sideways. And I know I was talking about this daily support. Maybe that's something that gets reached later this week. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the next day is very bullish. But anyway, that is still something that is in my mind. So, um, yeah, so I hope this video helped you out. I hope this made sense. This is kind of a way where, you know, like I always say, your trade doesn't have to exactly go to your target to be a successful trade, right? I have many trades where I, just like this is a great example of that, where I will exit early due to a number of different things changing, price action kind of getting a little boring, going sideways like we had here. If you look at the 15-minute chart, um, yeah, this just it went flat, right? And after a couple candles here, it was clear, right? We're just going to keep going up, or not go up, but we're going to go sideways. That volume has sort of died down for the day, right? It's about noon right now, and so there's no reason to continue to hold a position like this, expecting it to keep going down, right? We will be back tomorrow for this, but again, right? Targets, I like to think of targets as more of general zones, right? And you can have a successful trade that doesn't precisely reach your target, right? It's all just about adapting to what the market's giving you in real time. So, that's what we did here. We got in based on the price action, and we also got out based on the price action. So, yeah, we had our higher time frame zones that we were aware of, and those were our reference points. But really, entries and exits, it comes down to the price action, right? So, anyway, we'll see how this continues the next day or so. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful.